Hello, good evening. Welcome to this edition of Good Evening Ghana. Thank you very much, as always, for your time. Tonight we have a three-dimensional program. First, we'll get a full report of what happened at the Electoral Commission this morning. And we do these things for those of you who are busy throughout the day and you hear snippets of the story that Nana Akufo-Addo filed his nomination forms. Also, you may have heard that Chiri Abosom, the sensational presidential candidate for 2020 from the spirit world, also filed his nomination, and Joy Osei-Yeboah also filed his nomination. Three presidential aspirants filed their nomination. Obviously, the biggest among them is the NPP presidential candidate, Nana Akufo-Addo. We get a full report and videos from what happened at the Electoral Commission this morning. We also get to find out when President John Dramani Mahama will file his nomination. We understand that he's on a tour up country away from Greater Accra region, so there's a high possibility that his nomination will be filed by top officials, executive of his party, the National Democratic Congress. So that's our first story. Our reporter, presidential reporter Eugenia, will be in the studio to give us those updates. And so wait for that, then you can get a full sense of what happened at the Electoral Commission this morning. Also, we will be talking we'll be showing you, playing back to you, a speech, 27 minutes long. It was a speech that was delivered by the former member of parliament for the Subin constituency, later on chief executive, earlier chief executive of Cocoa Board, former Ghana High Commission in the United Kingdom, and most recently the chief executive of the Tema Oil Refinery, the Venerable Isaac Osei, the old Achimotan, delivered a speech about the historical situation with tribal politics in Ghana. And we feel that is relevant again, given all what is happening in the Western Togoland crisis. In spite of the glorious assurances that we got from Parliament today, those were very pleasant statements from both sides of the House, particularly commending the minority leader for assuring the government that Ghana is one country and will remain one country. That was very, very assuring from Parliament, from the Speaker, the Honorable Michael Quay, from the Majority Leader, the Honorable Cheme Sabosu, and from the Minority Leader, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu. It was all a plethora of pleasant assurances from the leadership of Parliament today about the situation, the uncomfortable and unnerving situation of the Western Togoland crisis. Isaac Osei spoke to these matters 2 years ago when Achimota School celebrated 90 years of existence. And they called it Achimota Speaks. Tonight, we have isolated 27 minutes of that speech. He traced the historical antecedents of perceptions of tribal politics in Ghanaian political situations and the reality. He tried to draw a distinction between the two, but he discussed every regime, from the Nkrumah regime, the Buzia regime, all the way to the end. 27 minutes of that, we'll play it back for you. When we finish, we'll come back to the studio and have an education debate. So I would have two people in the studio, none of them direct politicians, but both of them focus on education by reason of their work. Both of them are teachers as well. They'll be getting us to understand what is the situation with the teacher training policy. Who is telling us the right thing? Is the MPP policy right, or is the NDC policy right? They'll go back to 2016 and tell us what the MPP did, what the NDC did with teacher training policy, and what the MPP have done. I've listened to both of them. I get the sense that one of them leans more towards the NDC, and the other probably leans more towards the MPP. That's why I've asked both of them to come. So when they speak, you can understand. One of them will take us through the history first, and then he'll be joined by the other one. We'll attribute 30 minutes to that as well. So between now and 10:35 tonight, your dial must be here. If you like politics and if you are interested in election 2020, you are interested in Ghana's historical tribal politics, and you are interested in your child's future, wanting to know what the education policy is for teachers, this is where your dial should be, right here on Good Evening Ghana. So that's a list of what we're going to do. We will now take a break. When we come back, we will find out what happened at the Electoral Commission this morning. This is Good Evening Ghana, and it's live.
Ghana for high sense domosibe bray. Let through any pomodi adwuma for. Corona yare baye. One ye dini ye. Ye koso asre se. Abanse se odi egu akwam no. Ye nkoso na ye niso. Ye ye di entra. Se wo home appliances are efe. Na eche. Ne bo da form. Afe entwe power. You bia be kan bia oboa. Eno ane high sense. High sense niema eye direct from factory. Ya na ye. Inti yetimi promotion abrebia. High sense product abeto Ghana no. Eno na abeto Germany and America. Your fridge, air condition, TV, washing machine, gas cooker, blender, rice cooker, mobile phones, sound system, and the break keka home. You have 5 years manufacturer defect warranty. Mano, ya tete so mamu say, say yeah, no nose mask, no entry. High sense, everyday prices for everyday people.
Why are you running? You're almost knocking me down.
You've not heard?
What?
Rehoboth Property Limited is building Africa's first affordable luxury gated city here in Ghana.
You mean you don't know?
Did you know that and you didn't tell me?
Of course.
Really?
Yeah, I just bought my first luxury apartment at $27,500 US.
Just that?
Oh yeah.
Really?
We also have a 2-bedroom apartment, goes for $37,500 US. If you're a family person, you have a 3-bedroom apartment, goes for $49,500 US.
That's really affordable.
I know,
but
right?
what makes it luxury?
There's so many beautiful amenities. For example, you've got a swimming pool inside here. You've got a basketball court. This place has its own clinic. It has its own, supermarket.
Wow.
As if that's not enough, it's also Ghana's first apartment with steam bath and sauna.
That's really affordable luxury.
Right?
Since you've got yours, please, let me go and get mine. Madam, stop it!
Why?
This attitude of dumping rubbish anywhere in Ghana is a thing of the past.
Sorry.
We join Zoomline to declare we believe in Ghana. We believe as a nation we can make it if we try.
Believe that as a nation we can make it if we try. We believe in Ghana. We believe.
Okay, so welcome back to the show. Thank you very much for your time again. It's Good Evening Ghana and it's live. Eugenia has joined us, Presidential Affairs Correspondent. Hello.
Hi, Paul. Good evening.
Good evening. You had a long day, haven't you?
Pretty long day, yes.
Okay, so we want to understand what happened at the Electoral Commission. How does it work?
Okay, so the process is just for the candidates or whoever they nominate to submit or their nomination forms to go into the... Okay, so it's been decentralized now. So for the parliamentary candidate, they submit the forms at the district offices, but at the Electoral Commission's head office, the presidential candidate submits over there because of the COVID and all that, so it's quite limited. And so the presidential candidate submits to the presidential elections returning officer, who is Madam Jimenez and the EC boss. So that's how the process is. You go, you submit all your forms, and they don't do the scrutiny at that moment. There's a technical team and an IT team that will do that later. So the boss just goes through and then she addresses the candidates as they present the form. After
So what time did it start today?
Okay, so the process each day is supposed to start at 9 a.m. but the candidates choose the time they want to submit the form. So today, when we got to the EC head office around 11 a.m. But as at then, Jacob Osei-Yeboah had already submitted his nomination form. And interestingly, this time he's not running as the presidential candidate. You know, he's an independent candidate, but he's not going independent, or he's not a presidential candidate anymore. He is now the running mate of another independent candidate who is a Kwame Walker. He calls him Kwame Walker.
Is that him on your last screens?
That is Jacob Osei-Yeboah.
So he submitted for Kwame Walker.
Kwame Walker, who is now the independent presidential candidate. So he's his running mate. Yes.
Oh, that's
yes.
interesting.
He's interesting.
So Kwame Walker was not there.
Kwame Walker, we didn't see Kwame Walker there, but Jacob, because Jacob is more popular, he's more out there, so I think it was just a strategy to let him
What's the
sell.
symbol of their party? Did you get it?
No.
You didn't get it, okay.
Yeah.
I see. Then, so after Jacob Osei-Yeboah, then what happened?
So after Jacob Osei-Yeboah, then His Excellency, the President, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, he was the star of the moment, I mean, today, obviously, because we had party supporters.
So about what time was it in the morning?
30. He came around 11:30 a.m. to submit his form.
Okay.
So it was accompanied
So
by
that's him?
Yes, that's him. That's
So
him.
who is to his right seated, looks like seated?
Oh, this is just somebody holding the microphone. But he was actually seated beside the vice president when.
Oh, the vice president was with him?
He was there. The
I
vice
see,
president
I
was
see.
there. The party chairman was there. Sami Uku was there.
Who is in the
finance
white by
minister,
Madam Jane Mensah?
I think Dr. Surubo. I'm not
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did Jane Mensah say?
Okay, so she welcomed him and she indicated that this is actually the first time a sitting president has come to the EC head office to submit the form himself. And
Oh, that's
so-
Ken Ofori-Atta in our
Yes,
shot?
that's the finance
Okay,
minister.
he was there as
So-
well, okay.
So she told him that it was commendable that he came to submit the form himself, and indicated that now they have two teams that will be scrutinizing the forms. They have a technical team that will check whether the candidates fulfill all the requirements of the law, 40 years and over. They have filed their tax returns or are in the process of doing that. And then we have an IT team. So the IT team would ensure that the signatories are indeed voters who qualify for the process. So that was what she told the president. And in return...
But this story about, this is the first time a sitting president has filed.
That is what she said. That
That's interesting. In 2016, President Mahama did not show up
I
himself?
think he nominated.
He nominated
yes,
somebody.
yes.
I see.
Yes.
So what did President Akufo-Addo say?
Well, the president was emphatic, told the EC that the process leading to the election should be fair. After the elections, everything should be made transparent, and he will not be a president, or he will not want to be a president elected on deceit. Those were his words, that he didn't want to be elected on deceit. So the EC should ensure that everything leading to the elections, after the elections, is fair and transparent. So that was what
Did the vice
president-
president speak?
No, he didn't speak.
I see.
He
So that's the
didn't
vice
speak.
president seated
Yes,
in white
yes.
next to the president.
Yes.
So at which point will candidates know whether their documentation has passed the test or not?
So that should be after the scrutiny, after the 9th of this month, that's on Friday. So then the candidates will get to know who qualifies and then who doesn't.
Do they have a date for balloting?
Not yet. That's not out yet. Yes.
I see. Great. Okay, then
and
who
so-
else came in?
So, like you put in the sensational Reverend Christian Andrews, who is popularly known
That's
as...
his name.
Yes,
The Reverend Christian
Kwabena Andrews.
Reverend Christian Kwabena Andrews.
Yes.
I see.
Yes, that's his name, popularly known as Akufo-Addo Abusum.
Is that him in the shot?
Yes, that's Akufo-Addo Abusum, who...
I see.
Yes, speaking to...
This is addressing the media
newsmen
after he had found it.
And interestingly, he's targeting an ambitious 65%
Of the vote?
of the vote.
In the first round?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So that is his ambition. He's pro-Nkrumah, he's an Nkrumah, so he's targeting 65% of the votes. And so he was there with his running mates. That's his running mates beside him.
To the right-hand side of the screen? Is it a lady?
Alhaji, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Alhaji Lukman, one Alhaji, he says he's a businessman. And so they were also there to file their nominations today. Yeah.
I see. What did he tell the media? The 65%.
Yes,
that's
the highlight of it.
Does he have a party or he's running as an
Oh, he has a
independent?
his party is the Ghana Union Movement, GUM. I think.
Do
GUM
they have
or
parliamentary
GUM.
candidates?
They say they do have people on the ground across the country, and according to him, he is more like the people's, that's what he says, he's the people's man. He has people on the ground, so we should ignore all the naysayers that he actually has people who can go to parliament for him. So
when does the process end?
So it ends on Friday.
Oh, this Friday?
This Friday.
So
this time
Wednesday,
has been extended
Thursday and Friday.
from
Okay.
2 days to 5 days, so it ends on Friday.
I see.
Yes.
When do we expect President Mahama to file?
So speculations are rife that he will do tomorrow. Although he's not in the country, so
he's not in Accra.
He's not in Accra. Yes, he's in the Western North region, so it's likely he might nominate or delegate for that to be done on his behalf. So we'll see how things.
Who else are we expecting to file?
There are 14 political parties. We have Akpalu, the LPG. We have APC, Hassan Ayariga. So we have all these people planned to file, and then 3 other independent candidates.
What about Nana Konadu Ajiman Rawlings?
She's also NDP, yes.
Oh, that's
she's
NDP
expected, yes.
okay.
She's expected to also file. So.
And all that must happen on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday?
Yes, within
So
the
Friday,
period.
5 p.m. it closes?
5 p.m. it closes.
I see. What about the parliamentary candidates? Is it also closing on Friday?
Yes, same. Friday. For
I see. So
presidential
MPs are around the country filing in their districts?
Yes.
You have to file in the district where your constituency is?
Where your constituency is.
Ah, I see.
The
That's
district
a bit of
office.
crisscrossing. But Parliament open today, so it's unlikely to have a lot of people.
In Parliament?
Yes, Parliament open
yes,
today,
yes.
so I'm saying that MPs will be filing
Yes.
across the country.
So because of that, you won't get a lot of MPs in the House, yes.
So when does the whistle really get blown? When they have finished the documentation
Exactly.
and told us who have qualified?
Yes. So we understand that each day they have to finish scrutinizing so that it doesn't run over to the next day. So whoever submits, they ensure that they do it. They will stay overnight. That's the EC to scrutinize the documents to ensure that at least they have time to do so for the other candidates. So hopefully next week we'll get to know who qualifies and who doesn't.
I see, that's early. Okay, and then the balloting, is there a date as I asked?
No.
There's no date yet, but the balloting will occur
Definitely.
for the presidential candidates at the Electoral Commission's headquarters.
Definitely.
I see.
Yes.
The MPP people who were out to cheer the president, did they not violate COVID restrictions?
I mean, violations are occurring every time. I mean, with these campaigns going on, you do not get supporters, and even sometimes the candidates themselves complying with the COVID protocols. It's quite difficult to control the crowd, and so obviously.
Did the president address them?
Oh no, he didn't. He just waved at them when he was leaving. So there were mainly supporters from the Clote-Korle constituency. The aspiring member of parliament was also there on the ticket of the NPP.
Oh, he was there, present?
He was there.
With his supporters?
With his supporters. So they were the ones mainly cheering the president on. It's within the jurisdiction, so yes.
I see.
Yes.
Okay, we'll leave it here, and we'll come back to you on Friday to see who and who have filed.
All right, thank
so
you.
that's our presidential affairs correspondent, Eugenia, who just joined us. I was talking about our next item, which is a speech that was delivered by the Honorable Isaac Osei. Those of you may not know, he has huge political experience. He was Ghana's High Commissioner in the United Kingdom, later on Chief Executive. I have to add that a very successful Chief Executive of Cocoa Board and Member of Parliament for the Subin constituency in Ashanti for 2 terms, and until recently, the Managing Director of the Tema Oil Refinery. He spoke on this matter about the historical evidence of tribal politics in the politics of Ghana since Kwame Nkrumah's days to Akufo-Addo's days. We thought that there's some food for thought in there relating to the Western Togoland. Let's see the speech now. It's 27 minutes long. After that, we'll be back in the studio for the education debate. This is Good Evening Ghana and is live.
I thank you, Audrey, for your kind introduction. Mr. Chairman, I do not know why a simple man like me, who does not want or need any trouble, should be asked to speak on a subject which can be both emotive and divisive, and to do so in the company of distinguished Ghanaians and Accras of high public standing. Considering the quality and experience of the discussants on this panel, I approach the subject matter of this evening's conversation in this jubilee year of our country with some trepidation. Mr. Chairman, this year being our school's 90th anniversary, I am reminded that Adom-Otchere did not train us to tremble in the face of difficulties, but the school prepared us to think sometimes outside the box, to excite our mental faculties, to address issues by finding solutions to problems, and generally to go out into every part of our country as living waters to a thirsty land. Mr. Chairman, I have seen many definitions of ethnicity, but the one which, in my view, best describes the word is that which sees ethnicity as the fact of belonging to a social group whose members have a common or similar history, culture, language, social norms, and mores. But, Mr. Chairman, there is another word, which probably, because of its pejorative connotation, is not fashionable to use these days, and that word is tribe. Ladies and gentlemen, the word ethnicity compared to the word tribe, which is more primordial, is a rather genteel word. In our context, no one should have any doubt what tribe or tribal means. I'll be using these words interchangeably. Ethnicity in our political development, learnings in a 60-year journey. That is the title of our discourse today. It is useful to start by examining what some others have said or written on this or similar topics. In the Brink of Disaster, a collection of lectures and writings of Ken Saro-Wiwa, he postulates that the lack of competent personnel, the canalization of all energies into the struggle for power, debilitating corruption, and other social evils have arisen because we have ignored the ethnic nature of our society. Ken Saro-Wiwa draws the distinction between ethnicity and ethnocentrism, suggesting that while ethnicity is permanent, its misuse against other groups is what must be fought. In an article on ethnicity and politics in Ghana, Adom-Otchere argues that despite the differences in regime types and ideological positions, ethnicity has come to play an increasing role in the politics of Ghana. At a wedding of his son, to whom I was the best man in 1980, Mr. W.A. Wiafe, later Nana Wiafe Kwajane, a noted Ghanaian businessman, politician, and chief of Kwawu extraction, said, "When I was growing up, you were expected to marry from your town or village, or at least from your own tribe. But today, my son is marrying a lady whose parents are Fanti. The world," he said, "is becoming smaller." Mr. Chairman, Ken Saro-Wiwa's point, even though he was speaking about Nigeria, is that our societies are basically ethnic in nature, and all the various ethnic groups are struggling to get a piece of the national cake. To get a piece, one has to control national resources, and this can be done through attaining political power. Hence, ethnic groups have tended to line up behind political parties or leaders who, in their view, are likely to get them their share. The lack of competent people and self-aggrandizement of officials and leaders further draw back the development of our countries. I share Saro-Wiwa's view that ethnocentrism should be fought, since there's no real basis to discriminate against others because they happen to be born into another tribe. I will be discussing with you the perceptions of the Ghanaian people about the various Ghanaian governments 60 years on, and how ethnicity has played a role in our political development. I agree with Adom-Otchere that ethnicity continues to play an important role in the politics of Ghana. Let me come to the point made by Mr. Wiafe. He is showing us that in the past, our horizons were limited to where we came from, to our immediate environments, Today, the limited frontiers of tribe have through intermarriages been breached and may yet provide us with one way to the future which we seek. Mr. Chairman, permit me to discuss some political developments in our country, Ghana, over the last 60 years, and see how ethnicity may have influenced various governments. The euphoria of independence from the British Crown in March 1957, under the leadership of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and Nzima from the western region of Ghana, promised much for Ghana. Dr. Nkrumah was a democratically elected leader who later became the undisputed dictator of the Ghanaian state. During his tenure, however, ethnicity did not come up as an issue, even though initially Ashanti, parts of the north, and pockets of Accra and the Volta region were implacably opposed to his CPP government. Nkrumah, however, did have a small group of Nzima friends who, though powerful, remained in the background for a long time. Men like Ayekumi, W.M. King-Uhao, and William Bedouansa. The trusted Ambrose Yankee, also an Nzima, was constantly by his side. Mr. Chairman, in February 1966, history tells us that Nkrumah was overthrown in a coup d'etat led by Colonel E.K. Kotoka and Eve. The National Liberation Council, which was set up by the military police leaders of the coup, was chaired by General J.A. Ankara, a Ghana. But the real powers behind the NLC were Colonel E.K. Kotoka, Major A.A. Afrifa, and Asante, and Mr. J.W.K. Harley, and Eve. On April 17, 1967, Kotoka, then a lieutenant general, was killed by Lieutenant Moses Yeboah, a Bono, in an attempted coup. In 1969, General Ankara was forced to resign his position as a result of improper dealings with a Nigerian businessman, Francis Nzerebe. Afrifa, now a lieutenant general, took over as chairman of the NLC. The question of ethnicity reared its head, as it was perceived by some people that Afrifa may have had a hand in the killing of Kotoka. No evidence has ever been made available to support this perception, yet Afrifa may have paid the highest price because of this. But it has to be noted that in politics, perception sometimes mimics reality. Mr. Chairman, as we know, in 1969, the Progress Party under Professor Kofi-Addo Buzia won elections. Buzia's victory was somewhat clouded by the fact that Nkrumah's CPP had been banned from participating in the elections. The country had promulgated a constitution based on parliamentary democracy. And in a parliamentary democracy, every member of government had to be a member of parliament. The National Alliance of Liberals, under Mr. K.A. Bedema and Eve, an astute politician who, with Kojobo Tio, had masterminded Nkrumah's victory while he was in prison in 1951, won all the seats in the Volta region. Professor Buzia, a Bono from Wenchi, was legally barred from appointing anybody from the Volta region as a minister because the Progress Party had no MPs from the Volta region. It was, however, said then and subsequently that Buzia did not want anybody from the Volta region in his government. This, of course, was not true, but once perception took hold, it became reality. Mr. Chairman, Buzia's government was overthrown in a coup d'etat led by Colonel I.K. Achampong and Asante in January 1972. Ethnicity was certainly not an issue during the 7-year Achampong regime. It is to the credit of Achampong that he caused the removal of the requirement of stating one's tribe on public application forms. Achampong, however, wanted to keep the military's involvement in politics intact and proposed a new political arrangement called Union Government or Unigov. That is a government of the military and civilians. In a referendum, Achampong tried to massage the results. And Ghanaians were incensed. General Champon was removed from office and placed under house arrest in a palace coup led by General Akufo, his deputy. General F.W.K. Akufo was soon overthrown by junior officers and men in the June 4th uprising led by Major Boachijan, Ebuno, and J.J. Rawlings and Eve. I mentioned Major Boachijan because he was the leader at the time when J.J. Rawlings was in jail. But when Rawlings took over the mic, he energized the June 4th uprising. Generals Akufo, Champon, and the FIFA were tied to the stake and executed alongside other senior officers. The first two executed, Generals Champon and Utuka, were Generals Champon and Utuka. The symbolism of General Champon and Asante, shot with General Utuka and Eve, was not lost on observers. The house cleaning exercise of the AFRC was no respecter of persons, even if they belonged to the major ethnic groups. It was, however, widely perceived that there was a binary division in the AFRC between the Akans and the Eves, which would affect the sustainability of the AFRC. I'm quite sure that with the presence of my friend Major Boachijan on this panel, more light could be thrown on this perceived division along tribal lines. Ladies and gentlemen, in any event, the AFRC lasted only 3 months, giving way to the government of President Dr. Hela Liman, a Sicily from Gwolu in the Upper West region. The 1979 Constitution, under which Dr. Liman operated, was based on a complete separation of powers, very much in the US mode. All ministers were appointed from outside Parliament. Some PNP MPs resented the fact that the real power was exercised by unelected personalities. The PNP was that weakened by internal strife and cabals, making it difficult for Dr. Liman to get a firm grip on the affairs of state. It was also perceived that in Liman's government, there was a disproportionate number of people from the three northern regions, and this was also resented by some in his party. And especially after the death of his mentor, Alhaji Imoru Igala, it was obvious that the center could not hold. It was therefore not surprising that Flight Lieutenant J.J. Rawlings, the chairman of the AFRC, who had handed over power peacefully to Dr. Liman, took back power by force of arms on 31st December 1981. Rawlings' tenure, first as a military dictator, ruling by decree, and then as leader of the National Democratic Congress with a huge parliamentary majority, was marked by the perception that there was a shadowy group of kinsmen, mainly members of the Ajovia clan of the Anlo state, which met regularly and took decisions which were favorable to their ethnic group. This, of course, may be entirely false, but in politics, perceptions may mimic reality. After Rawlings' 2 terms, J. Akufo and Asante and his new patriotic party won elections in 2000. It was the first time that Ghana had witnessed a political turnover from one political party to another. There was the general perception at that time that Rawlings had given far greater opportunities to his own other tribe and the northern tribes to the partial exclusion of the Akans. Kufuor's win was therefore seen by some among the majority Akan group as taking power for them. During Kufuor's tenure, it was perceived that the ethnic complexion of his government was skewed in favor of the Akan tribes, especially his own Asante people. Kufuor was also attacked for not having at one time or the other any minister from the Upper West region, even though he could not claim, as Buzia did, that he was constitutionally barred. The difficulties which had encompassed the regimes of Buzia and Liman led Ghanaians to adopt what is essentially a hybrid of the parliamentary and presidential systems. From 1992, a president could appoint ministers from within or without parliament, with the constitutional limitation that the majority of the ministers had to be from parliament. In 2008, another political turnover occurred, with the pendulum this time swinging in favor of the National Democratic Congress, led by President John Evans Atta Mills from the Central Region. Mills's government was not distinguished by any ethnic coloration. He unfortunately passed on during his first term, marking the only time a sitting head of state had died in office. His demise paves the way for the Vice President, Mr. John Mahama Egonja from Bole, to take up the position of president. He wisely brought in Mr. Emisata, who, like Mills, was a Fanti, as his vice president. After completing Mills's term, Mr. Mahama secured his own mandate to govern after winning the 2012 elections. And for the first time, we had a fully fledged election petition brought by Jacob Echebilamte, Nana Akufo-Addo, and Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia. And after a very lengthy court process, the Supreme Court ruled against the plaintiffs. The leader and candidate of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Akufo-Addo, decided not to seek a review of the decision and made a statesman-like statement accepting the decision of the court and thus the results of the election. During Mr. Mahama's term, the general perception, and it's not too long ago, the general perception was that he promoted the interest of his kith and kin to the detriment of other ethnic groups, especially in appointments, scholarships, business deals, and recruitment to the public services, especially the security agencies. This was the general perception. And again, as you all know, sometimes in politics, perceptions mimic reality. It has also been noted that President Mahama did not have any minister of cabinet rank from the Ashanti region, at least in his last year in office. Mr. Mahama became the first sitting president. You know, someone just said, Dr. Ajima Mensah, he was in the cabinet, but he was moved out to Works and Housing, which was not a cabinet position. So there was no Ashanti there. Mr. Mahama became the first sitting president to lose an election and hence his job. Ghana has now established a political culture which says no politician has permanent tenure. We have ushered in the era of Nana Akufo-Addo. His accession to the presidency marks the third political turnover from a governing political party to an opposition party in the Fourth Republic. Even though it is too early to make a judgment on the ethnic complexion of his appointments, it is generally believed that it is dominated by Akans. Today in Ghana, we have two major political parties, the National Democratic Congress and the New Patriotic Party, which are the only parties represented in Parliament. It is a fact that the National Democratic Congress draws its support mainly from the Volta and the three northern regions. And the New Patriotic Party also draws its support largely from Ashanti and the eastern regions. In the 2016 elections, the NPP made substantial gains in the Upper West region. The swing regions of Greater Accra, Western and Central regions went with the NPP this time around. So can we then say that the NPP is an Ashanti party or that the NDC is an Ewe party? This is a matter I leave to you to think about and discuss. Mr. Chairman, I am of the opinion that 60 years on, many of us may still be in our tribal cocoons. Our perceptions are formed on the basis of our own worldview. Perhaps our experiences, often nowhere near reality. It may come as a severe shock, and I'm quoting from Robert White, who said it may come as a severe shock if you haven't given much thought to this subject before. But our precious cast in stone objective beliefs are often totally in contrast to any reality. Or more accurately, they are our perception of reality than the reality itself. 60 years on, Ghana, what do we do? First, we must accept that ethnicity is a fact, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. No one here asks to be born a Dagati, Fanti, or Krobo. And no one can decide to become an Asante, Kusasi, or Krobo if one is not born as such. So long as procreation continues, there will always be different ethnic groups in Ghana. Our problem is not because of our being Buno, Ekwiapem, or other. Our problem is ethnocentrism or tribalism, where people develop a fanatical attachment to their tribes that they think other ethnic groups are not quite like them, and therefore they should be looked down on. When you begin to think that it is only your ethnic group which has amassed all the good gifts which Providence has bestowed on us, and that another group, another ethnic group, has monopolized all the negative traits in man, then, my brothers and sisters, we get into the realm of stereotyping. If we stop to think about it, we will come to the realization that tribal stereotyping does not make sense. Respect for each other, irrespective of tribe, is the beginning of the acceptance of other ethnic groups. The collective ideas and energies of our people have to be harnessed for the development of our country. My brothers and sisters, there is wealth in our diversity. Indeed, our president, in his 60th anniversary address to the nation, acknowledged the importance of ethnic diversity when he asked Ghanaians to take pride in our diversity and rise above ethnic and sectional interests. Let me also remind you of the Adom-Otchere School crest, which adorns our admin block and which you will find also in our anniversary cloth. You will notice that the shield or crest represents the keys of a piano. Dr. Akufo-Addo, who designed it, told us many years ago, you can play a tune on the black keys and play a tune on the white keys. But for harmony, you need to play both white and black keys. It is assumed that having experienced racial discrimination in America, Dr. Akufo-Addo was thinking about the black and white races and what a harmonized world we could have. I, however, believe that Dr. Addo was thinking about the chiefs and people of the Gold Coast as well, a point which has been made by the chairman. Hence the motto of the school, Ut omnes unum sint, that all may be one. For harmony in our country, we need to work together as a people. That is the lesson of the Adom-Otchere School crest. Second, we need to build an opportunity society where government does not dictate, but empowers all citizens by creating an environment where each individual can attain his full potential, irrespective of his ethnicity, political affiliation, or social standing. Thirdly, Professor Max Esimin, who was my sociology lecturer at Legon in 1970-71, argued in 1989 that the rules of bureaucratic governance and procedure are undermined by a system which rewards people not on the basis of competence and qualifications, but on the basis of one's ethnicity. Thus, the question of meritocracy is of paramount interest. Any country which wants to progress must of necessity rely on the ability and skills of its own people. It is important that the state ensures that merit, ability, and competence, capacity, and capability determines one's progression. Politics is an area where appointing authorities like presidents choose those they believe can do a job for them, to enable them to fulfill their promises to the electorate and to assist them to realize their visions. I will say to any head of state that within the limits of the law, select anybody who is qualified, even if you find such a person in your kitchen. But be prepared to face the consequences of your action. Mr. Chairman, I was born by an hunter woman from Disco, so I'm from Disco. My father was an Asante man from Sipetimpum in the Kumasi metropolis. I started school in Kumasi and continued at Achimota and Legon. I married an Achim woman from Kukrentumi. I live in Accra and work in Tema. I have business interests in Koforidua, Accra, Kumasi, and in the Yensuanu district. My closest friends include a Bono man from Drobo, an Ewe from Topalimi, a Gan from Usu, and an Asante from Kwamai. Two of my sisters are married to Dagombes, one from Lamashegu and the other from Gushegu. Where I am today, I want to ask a question, whether it has anything to do with my being a hunter. So who am I? Ladies and gentlemen, dwell on that for a while. I thank you.
And I'm receiving some of the most interesting text messages about Isaac Osei's lecture. It was delightful and also slightly regrettable to see the late KB Asante over there. Very excited about the lecture. That's a man that you can easily say was a patriotic Ghanaian. May he rest in peace. Ambassador KB Asante, very illustrious Ghanaian. It was very disheartening to see him very excited about the lecture. KB passed a few months later on after that event. This was a 2017 event. May Ambassador Asante rest in perfect peace. And I saw Professor Aite as well. I hope he's doing well. One of the great minds of this nation. One of the great minds this nation has produced. Former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Aite. Text messages coming in. Somebody says that we are hearing that the close of nominations for presidential nominations is Friday. Can you ask Isaac Osei to file as an independent candidate? I will vote for him. Another one says that Isaac Osei, what are you talking about? Do you know the people from that place? They are all like that. Okay, he mentions it, but I cannot mention it. I'm taking a cue from Isaac Osei that ethnocentrism is what is bad for us. Another one says that very interesting lecture. I hope that political science students are taking note. Somebody should write a book about the history of ethnocentrism and ethnicity in our country. Another one says that he talks about Professor Mills and says that there was no meaningful tribal perception under the Mills administration, but there was. The Fantis were in charge. Parkwisi Mr. Arthur, he says, was at the Bank of Ghana. Atto and Kwamena Ahoy, both Fantis were fully in charge of the Mills administration, and Martin Newman, his chief of staff, was also Fanti. But as he writes in the text, he says, but it was perception. But Isaac Osei says, in politics, perceptions can mimic reality. Many text messages come in. I'm delighted that all of you enjoyed that lecture. Sometimes we have to go back and pick up on some of the stories. And this is food for thought. And so I was happy that people are enjoying it, and on Facebook as well. Many messages coming in. I'll read some of the messages as we go along. But it's 10 o'clock now. We have to shift to our education matter. Tonight I have two people in the studio to talk about education. But yesterday was National Teachers Day. Actually, we are not talking education. We are talking teachers. Yesterday was National Teachers Day, and I got a Facebook video sent to me by former NDC presidential candidate Ambassador Spio Gabra. Usually, when I call Spio Gabra sends me videos like that, I get the sense that he wants me to publish it. I'd like you to see his message for National Teachers Day. Let's have a look at what Spio Gabra put out yesterday.
On International Teachers Day, I would like to recognize in particular our ABCDE patrons, those who work with us, that is ABCDE, around the country to encourage our students to become prepared for their future. ABCD patrons are individuals who are teachers themselves, who have nominated themselves invariably or been requested by us, the ABCD organization, to mentor our students, to help to organize them and to lead them and guide them on the various student campuses. And so on a day such as this, when we recognize teachers, we want to give a special word of encouragement and recognition and thankfulness to our teaching population, those who are ABCD teachers in our schools and who are therefore patrons also. We say a big thank you. Continue to show love for our students, continue to pay attention to their special needs and to the students themselves. Have a wonderful day and recognize your teachers and those who are mentors and who are helping you to do a better job in our students. Find a way to say, Mr. Teacher or Madam Teacher, I love you. I thank you so much for all that you are doing for me. I'm so happy to be a student working under you and getting some encouragement from you. Say that to your teacher. Let them also be happy.
Well, that's Ambassador Spio Gabriel's message on Teachers Day. I'm wondering why, at a time like this, when there's a big debate about NDC policy and NPP policy, 62 days to election, former presidential candidate of the National Democratic Congress, Ambassador Spio Gabriel, does not offer any sort of endorsement for President Mohammed's campaign this time that elections are getting close. Nothing read into it, though, but in politics, as you know, perception can mimic reality. Congratulations, though, to Ambassador Spio Gabriel. I have with me Larry and his colleague, but I'm going to start with Larry quickly before we get into the debate. So you want to tell us, Larry is with the Colleges of Education.
Weekly Journal.
College of Education Weekly Journal. That's a print material.
Yeah.
Okay, and you focus on teachers.
We focus on issues affecting colleges of education, the institution that trains our teachers for basic schools.
Teacher training colleges.
Sure.
Okay. So you're going to tell us the policy of the NDC or before 2016 and now. What are the differences? Can you quickly run through that and then we get the debate started?
All right. So we'll quickly go through that. But before we do that, let me say a very big thank you to Honorable Spio Gabriel for commending teachers on World Teachers Day. We are still in the mood of celebration. It was quite unfortunate that yesterday we didn't see the likes of our big wigs in the country, the president and other key personalities like the former president, John Dramani Mahama, wishing teachers well on such special day in the lives of teachers. I've heard the teacher unions drumming home the issue about payment of legacy arrears. And I would also like to add my voice to that yes, teachers deserve better. As a professional, there's no doubt a teacher made you who you are today. So please, let's treat teachers well. So we'll first move to key achievements in colleges of education under the two major parties in the last 8 years. So that's under the NDC and then the NPP. And interestingly, when we're drafting this document, the NDC official who helped us with the key achievements under their regime made quite an interesting remark that, look, we came into office in 2012. No, that was in 2013. The elections were held in 2012. But you know very well that in a major part of 2013, the election petition disturbed us. So if you are going to speak about achievements, you should just count 2 years for us, because we started full work somewhere around 2014, and somewhere around 2016, we had to start preparing for elections. So let's equally take note of that when we are counting on the achievements of both parties when it comes to teacher education, specifically colleges of education. So if the slides can roll, we'll first look at the NPP. So yeah, this key achievement in colleges of education under the NPP government. So we'll look at it in 3.5 years. That's from 2017 to date. So the first thing, which was one of their flagship promises, they restored the teacher trainee allowance. And 2, they improved.
Hold it there. Teacher training allowance. Is it true that it was cancelled? Is that a matter of fact?
Yes, it was cancelled.
By which government?
By the NDC government.
But they say they didn't cancel it. They say they only alternated it and made it a loan of sorts, like the way students get loan. Is that not what happened?
It depends on the perspective to which you want to see it. But if we talk of allowance, it was cancelled.
Did you know how much it was in those days?
Those days, I think the allowance was under the Mills regime. It was somewhere around 500, almost that.
500 cedis.
Yes, and with that, it was paid by the control.
Month?
Yes, per month. So every month of the year.
So this is to those in the teacher training colleges.
Yeah.
Students in teacher training colleges.
Exactly.
Were receiving about a little more or less than 500 cedis a month.
Yes.
Even when they were on vacation, they were receiving it.
Yes.
And it was paid every month.
It was paid every month.
So this is the teacher training allowance.
Yes.
Okay.
But under this government, it's paid 8 months in a year.
No, hold on. We have to travel well. So then the cancellation occurred when?
The cancellation occurred somewhere around 2013, 2014.
What was it? How was it announced to teachers?
Yeah, so I think it came as a shock to teachers because the payment of the allowance was actually a motivation for those who go to such institutions. Because we have Winneba and Cape Coast, that's UCC, also training teachers. But you see, like I interacted with a key personality in the field just recently, and he told me that, look, people can speak against the allowance. But one key thing is that you choose to go to Winneba or UCC, and those going to the college, they are trained for our basic schools. And it's not everyone who likes to teach at the basic school
level. Yeah. So there's a difference.
Yes. So this is more or less like a motivation for those going there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when the NDC cancelled it, is it true that they introduced a student loan scheme for them?
The student loan scheme was already there, but what they did was that they expanded it. So they added some other few benefits to it. And they also increased enrollment. That's one key thing we have to look at.
They increased enrollment into these schools?
Yes, they increased enrollment. So in the second year of the cancellation of the allowance, the enrollment was increased. But we must also put on record that under this current regime, the enrollment is still at the same figure, and they're still paying the allowance. So it's not a case where the enrollment has been decreased because of the allowance. The figures are still the same, and yes, still they are paying. So that's
okay. I get the point. So, so when was it restored?
It was restored, I think, in 2017. 2017-2018 academic year.
So the fact of the matter is that it was cancelled and it has been restored.
Yes, it has been
But
restored.
now it's not paid in 12 months, it's paid in 8 months.
It's paid in 8 months.
For the period that you are in school.
Yes. Okay. And it's not paid by the Controller and Accountant General Department as it was done in the past.
It's paid by whom?
It's paid by Student Loan Trust Fund. Okay. But it's not a loan.
I get it, yes. Okay. Does it make it come more regularly or something like that?
For some time now, it's been off and on, but they always make sure they pay them all the arrears.
Okay.
But you know, we are in an election year, so they are very prompt this time.
Okay. So please run through the slides quickly and then. I get a signal that I should take a break. Let me take that break. Then when we come back, we'll run through to the end of the program. So viewers, sorry, I need to take a short break now. Let's do that for our commercial adverts to roll. Here is the break.
Elections 2020 campaign time is here. Honorable, your people must know your mission. Your people must hear your message. Your people would vote. Appointed Time Printing is offering you a wide range of printing solutions. Design and print your quality campaign t-shirts, polo shirts, posters, banners, stickers, scarves, nose mask, aprons, campaign flags, billboards, and vehicle brandings at very competitive prices. And we deliver on time at your doorstep, free within Accra and Tema. We also offer studio services. Take pictures, create designs, and print for you. At appointed time, we partner you to victory. Order now. Contact us on 050-145-4165 or 050-145-4167. We are located at the old GNTC building near Kingsway, Accra. Follow us on social media at appointed time GH. Victory 2020. Go for it.
Hey, Papa new uniform to say. They say they're many girls be. They're the pool and your brodo. Your brodo.
Communication is basic and so important in all our dealings.
Now, okay, tell me, girl, I don't know Hamburg. How to cut off Freiburg? I'm in the shire, oh, Johannesburg. And some girl, Hamburg, Hamburg.
That is why you need very efficient but affordable handsets, because your world is just around you.
Oh, what's now? I'm interested why. Hey, Oliver, the wedding, they say IMF, anywhere bank. My apply brem some person sponsor. My sponsor. Only phone. Oh, my phone amount. Samsung phone. Oh, a very affordable price. Oh, come from Matobia Mobia. Yeah, 2 grand kutam.
That is what Cap Farm stocks. Affordable and original Samsung phones at wholesale prices you won't believe.
You know, can say, Donald Trump, on no flashing on the bill comes to you. Donald Trump will flash him to make my phone later.
Visit Cap Farm today.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we have brought in, sorry, tell me your name. Kofi Asare. He is with Africa Education Watch, correct? West African organization. Yeah. Okay, so he's joining us. So we can have the debate straight away. You have a view on the payment of, first of all, let me take your view. Is it good or bad that teachers are paid allowances, or those in teacher colleges are paid allowances by the government?
I think this is a very dicey one. But looking at the situation we are in as a country now, I think the payment of the allowance should not be our priority for now.
No, I'm not talking about priority. I'm talking about the division between the two political parties. The MPP thinks it should be paid as it used to be, maintain the status quo. President Mohammed's administration felt that it's not useful. We can do something else with the money. Where do you stand?
Interestingly, they have now kept it in their manifesto that when they come in, they also continue the payments.
That they will restore it,
sure,
as far as they are concerned.
Sure.
So the NDC has changed position.
Sure.
So the NDC and MPP are now in the same position.
Sure.
So where are you? Where do you stand?
Of which I'm saying that it's not an issue that we should take as a priority.
No, but is it good or bad? It's not the priority issue.
It's good, but...
It's good, okay. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, Paul, let me first indicate that, contrary to your earlier precursor to this discussion, Education Watch is not aligned to any of the political parties.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
I said
Ghana,
that. I made that point, yes. Okay. Correction well taken.
Yeah, we are opposed to the waste of 160 million every year.
Well, that's how much it comes to.
To pay for
160 million.
Exactly. Yeah. To pay for the teacher training allowances of teachers. We are opposed
trainee
to it,
teachers.
Exactly. Yes. We are opposed to it in the sense that that policy was needed at a point where we needed to stimulate demand for teacher training. We currently are doing about 20,000 teachers a year. I'm talking about all the colleges of education and the universities. The 20,000 teachers a year we are producing is twice the number we actually need to maintain equilibrium. Okay, and so there's no point in stimulating demand because there's an oversupply of teachers. Teachers who completed 2-3 years ago from the universities are still waiting to be posted. They are waiting because we don't need them. We don't need that number. We don't need 20,000 teachers.
Teachers who left the universities?
Those who completed 2 years, 3 years
ago
are still waiting to be posted.
Some of them are with NAPCO.
No, yeah, but that's NAPCO is not teaching.
Yes,
it's tier work, yeah. So we've gotten to the point where we are producing 20,000 teachers
per year.
Per year, and increasing because now we are the colleges are doing degree, so it's now attractive to go and do the degree course in basic basic education. So we've gotten to the point where the demand for teacher training is already high. You don't need to spend 166 million a year to stimulate.
Are you sure 20,000 teachers is too much for Ghana?
Currently, we have about 260,000 teachers in the basic education sector. Per our projections, okay, in the education strategic plan, that number of teachers is actually required by 2024. So we've actually met our teacher target by 2024. This year, we are recruiting 16,500.
But given what is happening with free SHS and the increase of numbers of students, because free SHS is increasing numbers of students at the senior secondary level, it is to be anticipated that at the JSS level too, students will increase, because those candidates who will not be allowed to go at all because parents will think circumstance cannot take you to SSS, so there's no need going to JSS. Join us on the cocoa farm. They will all now go through JSS. So we should anticipate an increase of numbers in JSS as well.
No, At the senior high school level, this discussion is just about basic education.
Basic ended at GSS 3.
The teachers who attend College of Education are meant for basic education.
Up to GSS 3.
Kindergarten, primary, and then junior high school.
They don't teach SSS?
No.
So those from Winneba and KVAS teach SSS?
Those who are doing BEd. Okay, the categorization of Winneba and KVAS is no more relevant because now even Legon is training teachers in BEd basic education. So let's focus on the program. Once you are doing BEd basic education, whether you're attending Catholic University or you're attending Valley University,
you are for senior secondary.
You are for basic school because
the
course is BEd basic education.
So people from the university doing BEd basic education can teach in basic school?
They are supposed to teach in basic school.
So who teaches the senior secondary school?
Any graduates. So you can do your BSc economics and go to economics in senior high school.
Okay.
Exactly.
So I can.
That's the difference.
So I can do political science and go and teach government appreciation.
Exactly. Exactly.
Also, those are the people teaching at the secondary school.
That is subject-based, more subject-based.
Well, that's more subject-based.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
so teaching methodology is not a big deal over there?
No, it's a big deal at the basic level. So the COEs and the universities are running the BEd basic education program, and they are training teachers for basic schools. And the demand for teachers at the basic level is projected to be 264,000 by 2024. But as we speak now, if we add the recruitment we are making this year, we are going to pass 264. And so the issue about some classrooms not having adequate teachers is a matter of redistribution of teachers who are hanging in peri-urban and urban areas and refusing to go to rural areas where they are needed. So the issue is a distribution problem and not a production problem. You produce 20,000. It's fantastic to produce 20,000 teachers. 10,000 can go to the private sector because the new national teaching policy, teachers policy, requires that every teacher must have a degree. So private schools inclusive, NTC is regulating that. So if you are training 20,000 teachers, it's fantastic. But there's no point in stimulating that demand. Why give incentives to people who are already motivated? Why? The person who is going to teach to the College of Education is assured of a job. Their colleagues who are doing BEd psychology or BSc economics are going to complete and go and find jobs. You are assured of a job. Secondly, their colleagues are taking student loans. They're going to pay back. You are not taking a student loan.
So why are they not taking student loan? Because of the
exactly. So what we are saying is that, look, allow them to take the student loan like any other graduate who has no assurance of.
Which was the John Mahama policy, actually?
It wasn't a John Mahama policy. It was the cancellation was out of two factors. One, extreme civil society pressure. We had mounted a 6-year campaign. The government should abolish that policy because it was a waste to the education resources.
But when Dr. Baumia promised this
so
in
when
the
went
NPP
to
manifesto, when he promised in NPP manifesto in 2016, I didn't hear civil society say that is a wrong policy.
Oh, we said it. I've written about 13 articles on that
one.
And I've indicated that.
So you criticized the NPP in 2016 for...
Of course, that it was a populist policy in the sense that that amount of money can build 500 schools today.
500 the 160 million.
Exactly. You can build 500 schools today. If we want to build 2-bedroom houses for teachers, it can build 1,600 schools every year. And so there's no point in spending that money on personal emolument, on allowances for teachers. What
did they use allowances for?
Half is used to buy food for them.
To buy it for themselves?
No.
When they receive the 500?
The money is giving 200, the money is now 400. So 200 goes to the school, used to cook for the teacher trainees. And the remaining 200...
So Akufo-Addo Training College will receive the 200 of all their...
To cook for them, and then the remaining 200...
So cook for them like dining hall, no?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Cook for dining.
You know, so there's a preferential...
Then the remaining 300, what happens to it?
No, the remaining 200 goes to them directly.
Every month?
Every month. Not every month, but every month that they are in school, so 8 months in a year.
Okay. And they use that for what, basically?
Buy handouts. Another
stipend.
Okay, buy handouts.
Yeah.
Okay.
But these are facilities that their colleagues who are doing nursing, who are doing medical students.
But nursing has also been restored.
Yeah, nursing. I'm saying, no. If you are doing BSc nursing, you're at University of Ghana, you're not getting that.
No, you're not getting that.
Point I'm making.
If you're in a nursing training college like NTC at 37, then you are getting it.
But if you are doing BSc nursing, you're not getting it. If you're a medical student, you're not getting it. If you are doing any program in the university which has no job guarantee, you're not getting anything. So it's marks of inequity. You know, it is highly inequitable to continue pursuing this policy.
Let's go straight and talk about the licensure exams because we don't have time. People are sending texts, want to know what you think. Let me start with you. What is the licensure exams? Explain the policy to us.
Yeah, so the licensure exams is just one of the first steps as a newly trained teacher you're supposed to take to get yourself a provisional license to operate as a teacher. I think this was
license.
Yes.
Okay, so when you come out of Akufo-Addo Training College in September or in June 2020, when do you take the licensure exams?
You take it just about a week after you have left.
Oh, I see.
campus.
Straightforward.
Yes.
Akufo you have written your final exams at Akropong.
Sure.
And passed. So when you pass, what are you given? A degree?
No. For now, those who just left are still with a diploma.
So you're given a diploma?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you take the licensure exams, which is set by what? Ghana Education Service?
No, set by the National Teaching Council.
National?
Teaching Council.
There's a National Teaching Council?
Sure.
Under the auspices of the Ghana Education Service?
Not necessarily. I think that's the Ministry of Education.
Ministry of Education. It's
Yes.
new?
Yeah. No, it's been there, but they just had to...
National Teaching Council.
Yes. 6 years.
So they set the exam. So they become like for the lawyers, the General Legal Council.
Sure.
Okay. And for the doctors, no, doctors are not licensed, are they? They come out of medical school already.
Yeah, the medical and dental council.
So like that, but they don't take an exam for the purpose.
They do. They have a license exams.
Oh, I see. So when you finish medical school, you take an exam.
And nurses too, same.
Okay, nurses to take an exam.
You need to be registered, yeah.
Okay. And if you don't pass the exam, you have the degree, but you can't practice.
Exactly.
Sure.
Okay, excellent. So this one is for teachers to take an exam.
Yeah.
So you take the exam and then you are licensed now to be a teacher.
I think after the exams, you have to write 3 papers. And these papers are
After
just...
the exam? Which exam?
During the exam.
The exam is 3 papers?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is just literacy, numeracy, and then the last one. So you write those 3 papers, and when you pass, you are given a provisional license, after which you go through other steps. You build your portfolio. So you spend some few years in doing that. So the exams is just like a very small step of the bigger steps ahead.
What are those steps that you're talking about?
Building your portfolio as a teacher.
Filling your portfolio?
Building
your portfolio.
Yeah.
That means what?
So from time to time, you have officers from Accra going around to check what you are doing, and officers from the district office where you are posted also coming around to check what you are doing as a teacher.
What you are teaching and how you are doing.
Sure.
Then they mark it.
Sure.
Okay.
So this is more or less like going to replace the old system of upgrading. And even with those who are already in the field, before you are promoted, now you're asked to write exam, right? Yes. So the exam is not something new. The exam is not actually something new. And I think the mistake, if I'll call it a mistake, the mistake of NDC was that they listened too much to trainees who were complaining. The complaints of trainees were actually, why not fix the exams whilst we are on campus? We write everything before we go out. And
the lawyers don't fix the exam when they are in school, they finish and they write it.
No, but this is something new you are introducing into the system. So at least you should adjust it in a way that...
But in America, they do that. You take exam.
They take exam, but as I
Quite
said,
regularly.
This is new in our system. This is new in our system. So at least they should have just given them that adjustment to also go by that.
But we are looking for standards. We're looking for high standards.
We are not asking that the limits...
the rules and compromise the standards.
So they were not asking that they limit the exams. But what they were asking was that whilst we are on campus, so I'm on campus, after writing my final papers, I go out and come back before writing again.
What? Do you have to go back to the campus to write the exam?
Yes, you
go
back to the same campus to write the exams, which they were complaining about. And another thing also was that you can write all the papers you wrote in school, passed everything, but when you come out and you fail the license exams, you are not posted for national service.
Yes, but that should be so. What's wrong? What's wrong with that?
At least they would have been given that chance to be doing their service and had the opportunity to rewrite.
Ah, okay. So your view about the licensure exams is what?
The licensure exams is right in the first place. I don't see why NDC...
So you agree with it, but NDC said they will abolish it.
Yes.
Okay. So you don't agree with that?
I don't agree with it.
Let me
The licensure exams was introduced by the NDC. In fact, I was part of the team that set up the National Teaching Council.
It was introduced by the NDC?
Yeah.
The licensure exams?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was part of the team that established the NTC. I was then working as a consultant on the USAID project that developed the framework, the institutional framework for setting up the National Teaching Council. And so I have the history of how the licensure came in. Indeed, it was President Akufo who legislated the Education Act of 2008, Act 778, which has the National Teaching Council as a regulator of teaching or teachers in there. And their core mandate is to license and regulate teachers. NDC came and gave effect to the law in 2012 and set up the National Teaching Council. and started piloting the license examination, announced the date for the first one, and actually announced how much it was going to cost. Then we had an election. So everything
2008.
2016. Then we had the election.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything was set. The piloting was even done.
Yeah.
So everything was set for the license examination. It was announced. The amount is supposed to be 100 cedis.
I think
Everything
was
was
220.
220 then.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything was done. So far as we are concerned, the licensor is good, not because it was proposed by the NDC, but because it seeks to professionalize teaching and to ensure that, quote unquote, the chaff is separated from the grain. The teacher unions are happy about it because it helps professionalizes. It helps in professionalizing their profession, just as we have for the doctors, the nurses, and the lawyers. Unfortunately, initially there were agitations by some teachers because the initial one had a high failure rate. It was about 63% pass. So obviously you find people complaining that the thing is too difficult. But after 2 years of writing the examination, the last year examination, for instance, the pass rate was about 80%. So we have moved from the 60% pass rate to about 80% pass rate. And it only suggests that teachers are getting used to writing the aptitude test. And also, it's also just suggesting that the license examination has come to stay. So for me, so far the teacher unions are in support of the license examination. And so far as the National Teaching Council has a reasonable basis to enforce standards and then regulate the teaching profession accordingly and license teachers according to law. The license exams is a very, very important component of the professionalization of teaching in Ghana and mustn't be cancelled by any regime.
But NDC said they'll cancel it, so you don't agree with that?
No, we are not in support of the cancellation.
You think it should be? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But they're also saying they're going to cancel the national service.
It's a matter of law.
Well, and again, immediately you become a tertiary institution, a tertiary student, you have to do a mandatory national service, right? So if you want to exempt people from doing national service, you have to go and change the national service law. And that's why we are saying that if on one breath you are saying teachers are tertiary students, so they should do national service, why are you saying that they shouldn't enjoy student loan but they enjoy allowances? Let's be consistent. If teachers are not tertiary students, and of course, College of Education are not tertiary awarding, tertiary institutions degree awarding, they must do a mandatory national service like any other tertiary institution, and they must subscribe to student loan if they need support from the state. And
when will the degree awarding start? Has it started already?
The first batch is going to the first batch will move to level 300 this year.
Okay.
So
the admission requirements were higher?
It's the same as the admission requirement
for the diploma.
Because the tertiary institutions, University of Cape Coast, for example, is running some of the program with the College of Education within its catchment area. University of Ghana is also running the same program with other College of Education affiliated to them. So all the universities are running it with affiliated College of Education. So the requirements are the same. If you attend FUSU Training College and you go and do the degree, the degree will come in the name of UCC, not FUSU. If you attend FUSU College of Education to go and do the BEd, Basic Education degree, certification will come from University of Cape Coast, not FUSU College of Education. So the standards, the qualification, everything is the same as the one run by the universities.
Let me take your last word, Larry.
Yeah, so with regards to the national service, as you said, that's a matter of law. And we don't know how NDC is going to cancel that if they should win power.
They can amend the law.
Fine, but as you said, it means you are going to exempt a certain group of people, which is also going to... I think in a whole, I would have loved it if NDC had taken its stand, the stand they took in 2016, that look, even if it was going to cost us the elections, we will not pay the allowance. I don't know why the sudden U-turn, because there are a lot of major issues in the colleges that need attention, and not just trainee teachers allowance. I'm not against the payment of the allowance, but we have a lot of issues. As we speak, in the next few months to come, we are going to run the double track system in the colleges. We could have prevented.
Has the Ministry of Education announced that?
Not yet, but
is it inevitable?
Yeah, it's inevitable. Yeah.
I see.
Per the arrangements they are making, it doesn't look
because
like
of excessive admissions.
The College of Education were designed to take averagely 800 students. Okay, even the big ones, 800 students.
So like PTC.
So 200. You know, they were running 3-year diploma programs.
So you do 2 years on campus.
The final year was always a field
year
work.
out. Yes.
Yeah. So only 2 years, more or less, on campus.
On campus.
But now they are doing a 4-year program with only half a year one semester off campus. That's level 400, semester 2. And so you are virtually admitting 4 cohorts.
So we will have double track in teacher training.
Exactly, that's the only option, yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, I have to end here. I think we have to have this conversation again. Do you think that there should be a national conference to discuss the future of teacher training in Ghana?
I think whatever the MPP is doing today was started by the NDC. The teacher reforms taking place, all the teacher reforms taking place started under the NDC.
Including licensure exams?
Everything, all of them started under NDC. It was started by NDC. The DFID brought money through the TTEL, Transforming Teacher Training and Learning project, and it started from then. So the national teaching norms, all the policies being supported by Norwegian government and UNESCO started under the NDC. And it's good that the MPP came and continued it, because governance is always a continuum. And I don't think we should have any discussion about the way to go for teacher teacher training. Once we've agreed that the minimum qualification to teach in a school in Ghana is a degree, let's pursue that part. Once we've agreed that teachers are going to be trained in college of education, not training colleges, let's agree. Once we've agreed that we have to professionalize teaching and license teachers so that we can regulate them, we can withdraw their license when they misbehave, we can sanction them accordingly, let's follow that. Once we've agreed that I want to regulate the private sector and ensure that also minimum standards of teaching are applicable there, let's continue along that, because it wasn't proposed by the current regime. There's no need for any discussion about the direction of teacher training. We just need to follow the reforms that are ongoing, because you don't reform in the middle of a reform.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll leave it here. Viewers, we'll be back on Thursday with another edition of Good Evening Ghana. A lot of food for thought today. Thanks for watching and good night.